fairly good one there on the fly rod. For you guys who live in eastern South Dakota or even all over the US, one of my all-time favorite things to do is to fly fish for carp, because they're very aggressive, very active fish all summer long, and they're one of the few freshwater species that get up to 25, 30, 35 pounds that you can catch all summer long. So I'm going to give you a couple quick tips here on fly fishing for these, so you can get out and enjoy stuff like this on the fly rod. I mean, what a cool species. It's a male. He's milking right now. Spawn is on. Put him away. Whew. So with these carp, there's a few things to look for. They give some really good indicators on what they're doing, how and why. They're like any other fish. They have activity levels, and amongst those activity levels will tell you what to do, what flies to use, where to fish them at. Right now it's mid-June. Water's finally up in the 70-degree point. The carp have moved up to spawn. So right now they're as easy to find as they're going to be all season long. I mean, all year long. This is as easy as it's going to get, because you see them in such big groups. When you see them in these big groups, now fly fishing for carp, this is a visual game. You actually want to see them, cast at them, bring the fly in front of them. And they'll spook if you land it on their head, but you want to put it out in front of them, strip it by them, and get it right in their face. Now with activity levels, you're going to see, you see the carp that are up really shallow, that, you know, you're bulging the surface. You see their fins out of the back. Those are always active fish, aggressive fish, fish you can catch. When you're out in the main lake part or just off of shore, and you see the ones that are cruising the shoreline that are really working it, very aggressive fish, very active. The ones that are right up gulping on the surface, you can catch them. A little harder to catch because of the angle they sit in the water. It's hard for them to pick up your bait, but you can catch them. If you see carp that are just sitting and not moving, very negative fish, time to move on. But when fly fishing, some of the big questions I get about fly fishing for carp is, when do I go to a weighted fly? When do I go to one that doesn't have weight? And what it boils down to, it all depends on the angle, the way the fish is sitting in the water, the angle that he's sitting. If he's sitting a little bit head up, then you're going to want to throw something that doesn't go very deep. Now a carp's vision is pretty downward. They don't do well up here, up ahead. That's why you always want to get it down in their strike zone when you're fly fishing for carp. Anything that cruises way up above them, they aren't even going to see it. And that's why the angle of the fish is so important to read when they're in the water. If they're angled tail down a little bit, head up a little bit, you can use a light pattern. This is called the Charlie's Carp Candy. It's a pattern I designed, I don't know, 18 years ago, that you can still get, that does very well. It's not weighted, only gets about a foot below the surface. But as of late, all of the fish have been angled just head down a little bit, which means I have to get a fly almost underneath them so they see it. And that's when I go to an angel pattern. It's got dumbbell eyes. It's not super heavy, but it gets down quick, works right in front of them, and they just absolutely eat it. So the keys to remember when you're fly fishing for carp, just a couple quick tips. Read what they're telling you to do. Watch their activity level. If you see a carp that's burning the shoreline or working, that's moving, he's aggressive, he's gonna bite. If you see the ones that are just sitting and not moving, it's just a waste of time to stop and fish for them. And really read the angle of the fish, the way he's sitting in the water column. Tail down, head up. You want to use something that's a little lighter, that only gets down about a foot, that you can bring into that strike zone and won't fall out of it too fast. If you see them head down, tail up a little bit, then you need something weighted. There's always the classic bonefish pattern where the tail is way up, head's down on the bottom. I mean, of course, that's a weighted fly that you put right in front of them. But this is a species of fish that offers an immense amount of game to somebody who fly fishes. I mean, you use a 9-weight, 10-weight. I do in the eastern part of South Dakota, because I can legitimately tangle with a 30 to 35 pound carp. I got one this morning. I bet I fought it 45 minutes. It was probably in that 22 to 25 pound range. But it's something to try. And when people tell you they don't eat flies, they've never worked carp, because when you watch them take it, they don't just eat it, they turn, they charge it. You actively see them attack the fly. It's very cool to watch. So get out and give a try on some carp on the fly rod. They go all summer long, starting in early May. They'll go all the way through September and October. You can chase them on fly rod. It's a lot of fun. But just thought I'd pass along a few tips from anglingbuzz.com.